Hello and welcome to Miss Charlotte Astrology. My name is Miss Charlotte. I'm a full-time working astrologer, and on this channel I analyze astrological charts of public figures. And today, this will be an in memoriam tribute to the one, the only Shelley Duvall, who I just did a reading on Richard Simmons, who died yesterday. Shelley Duvall died the other day, a couple of days before. I just thought I'd do videos on these two people because they're both cancers. And they have a very similar kind of energy. I know they're very different people, but they're both cancers. They both have that Neptune square the sun, which is a difficult aspect. And I go into that in the Richard Simmons reading. I'll touch upon that today. But yeah, I don't have her full chart. I don't have her birth time. I will do my best. This is just a tribute. This is going to be, I really hope that this is sort of like a comeuppance for this lovely lady who was so poorly treated and laughed at. Like, she was laughed at for her physical appearance early on, and even like at the end of her life when she was suffering from mental illness. She was suffering from diabetes. She was just in so much pain her whole life, and people forget what a fantastic actress, artist she was. My introduction to her was it the movie The Time Bandits, and she plays a princess that gets held up on the side of the road. I remember that. I think it was Time Bandits, and I just thought she was so lovely and just a true fairy tale princess, truly. And then the next time I saw her was when I was a little girl. She had her fairy time storytelling show. She had that for a while. I know it was in the 80s. I think it was before I was born, but I do distinctly remember watching it, thinking she was just such an angelic presence. And then, of course, we have the film The Shining, and she won a Razzie Award, which is like worst actress of the year or whatever for The Shining. And Jack Nicholson is great. He's great in the role. She stole the show, in my opinion. Her fear, it's visceral. Like, she's so good in that part, and I'm horrified that she got a Razzie for that. It was brilliant acting. You know why? Because it wasn't acting, because she was getting like harassed and abused on set. I do not like Stanley Kubrick. I don't like many of his films. I think they're horrific. I think the man's a bit of a Satanist, actually, and I can't sit through his films. He's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino, abusing his leading ladies. Disgusting. Anyway, before I dive into this chart, I just want you guys to know that you can book a reading with me below. I got MP3s. I don't do 60 minutes anymore. I did my special, it's done. But I do the MP3. So I'm still available for those readings. They're just not via appointment. They're emailed to you. It's the best way to support me. And thank you so much. Okay. So let's talk about Shelley Duvall. Let's have a look at her placements. I know we don't have the time. My apologies. If we ever find her birth time, I will amend the chart. But I'll do the best that I can, okay? She was a Cancer sun, right? And she's got a Venus in Leo, Mars and Mercury in Gemini. Did she do writing? She did production, didn't she? With the fairy tale thing. I think she was a producer on that. But she's someone who's already like very creative. She's very much a sensitive Cancer. Loving, maternal, kind, person who has, a flair for drama because of Venus and Leo. Pluto here makes this, her love life is quite intense. Like, I'm wondering if she had a bit of, when she was young, she was in I'm wondering. I don't know. But Pluto with Venus can indicate intense, obsessive relationships, which could also potentially be abusive. If anyone knows anything about her love life, can you put in the comments? Pluto Venus together is not easy. And then she also has a Mars and Mercury together. I think she would have done really well as a producer and director. I don't know how involved she was. I feel like she would have been quite involved in a creatively with the fairy tale show that she had. But she definitely would have made a really, if she were born another time and we were living in a fairer world, she would have made a great director. Just because Mars and Gemini is very experimental, it gets bored very easily. You know, being a scream queen for an extended period of time would not have been right for her. I think she needed to try different things, and doing the wholesome stuff and storytelling is very Gemini. So yeah, and I think having heavy Gemini placements makes you a little bit erratic. Like you want to do one thing, then you get sick of it, and then you want to do another thing. Like it's just very experimental, and it's got a close proximity to Uranus. I'm wondering. I wish I had a birth time, because Uranus is a public public planet, right? So if you have that in a close proximity to Mercury, you might be known for your intelligence or known for your mind. So yeah, but we don't have the time, unfortunately. I would love to see what house this is in. Uranus is also in the same sign as the sun, not in a conjunction, but it gives her a bit of an Aquarius flavor. It's so funny because when I saw her for the first time, I thought, oh, she seems very Aquarian to me. But that's the Uranus influence, because Uranus governs Aquarius. So when you have Uranus and the sun in the same sign together, conjunction, if they're together, which they are here, not in a conjunction, but together, she's a weird girl. She looks weird. She's kind of alien-like. She's different. She doesn't fit in. I feel like she was an introvert. She's an introvert, like a quiet person, but her talent is very loud. You know, like some introverted people are weird. You know, that's like an Aquarian influence with the Cancer, the Uranus and the Sun here. Now let's pan out a little bit. I'm going to touch upon this Neptune square Sun. I burst into tears with my Richard Simmons. Reading, and I feel really embarrassed about it, but I felt like I don't want to do it again because I'm going to cry again. Last time I did my Celine Dion video, I burst into tears like 10 times before I could get the take, and I still cried at the end. So anyway, can't control it. Neptune square the Sun. She's going to suffer rejection. She is going to be sacrificed. She's going to be bullied. If you have a square between a big generational planet, specifically Neptune, and the Sun, which is the ego, you shining brightly, you doing creative work, you being completely yourself, might not be respected. It might not be appreciated. You know, and I've got my Sun in Aries. It's a different, but I've got that that Neptune square the Sun. Nothing nicely aspects my Sun. If I'm full Aries in it, I get in trouble. People think I'm rude. People think I'm mean. People think I'm like, they take a lot of what I say personally, and then it's really hard. They will sacrifice you. They will publicly fucking sacrifice you. And that's what happened to this poor woman. That's what happened to Richard Simmons. If you've got Neptune square in your Sun, people are gonna want to make fun of you, and take it in your stride. You got to take it in your stride. It's really hard to be yourself, you know. So, but ultimately with this square, over time, people will appreciate you. Over time, people will learn to appreciate you, and they'll see your side. So, and that's what happened. People respect Shelley Duvall now. People see her as a true icon of cinema, and that's where she deserves to be. Yeah, having shit aspects to your Sun. Shit aspects to your moon is also really difficult, but shit aspects to your Sun can make it really hard to feel like you can be yourself. And sometimes you feel like you have to cut off pieces of yourself so you can fit inside a box. And it doesn't matter if you end up fitting inside that box that they give you, that the public tells you to get in, that your parents tell you, get in the fucking box. So you cut off your limbs and you fit in the box and you're bleeding out, and then you get in trouble for bleeding out of the box. Neptune square the Sun. She's got a difficult Jupiter. She also has disappointing husbands. So I think she had a life partner towards the end. She didn't die alone. She had a partner, guys. She had a boyfriend. So you people that were worrying about, did she die alone? Ooh, a woman dying alone. No, she didn't die alone. She had a partner. She had a nice little unit, like unit around her. The whole, by the way, that whole thing with Dr. Phil was fucking disgusting. That's like Neptune square the sun as well. Like that's, and also Jupiter can be disappointing husbands or disappointing men. Like there's men are disappointing in her chart. Like this Jupiter is not aspected well. Jupiter is like the husband. It's a lucky energy. It's a marriage energy. It's in the sign of Capricorn. So I feel like patriarchal figures maybe gave her a false sense of security. Only like, you know, they built her up just to bring her down. Like men and husbands are just disappointing for her. So I'm happy to know that she had a loving partner towards the end of her life who looked after her. She was looked after, so good for her. Moon Chiron. I know she grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, but there's like this rejection of the home or rejection of the family, the rejection of the parents. Her moon is in Sagittarius, so she's perpetually, you know, always looking for something. She's always looking for that next thing. I think being an actress really worked for her. It just kind of fell into her lap. It gave her the kind of a very experimental, adventurous lifestyle that a Sagittarius moon would really enjoy. And I think having that Chiron in a close proximity, there is complications with the mother and their family, 1000%. I don't know what house this is in, but it seems to me that she was always trying to run away from some kind of familial hurt. And it is opposite all these Gemini placements. Having these mutable oppositions are so difficult. So difficult. Her moon is in one place. Like, this is what she needs to be emotionally happy, right? You know, she needs Sagittarius moons, they have a hard time putting their feet in the earth and just chilling out. They have a hard time with that. It can be a very high anxiety moon. And then her family situation is really difficult. And then on the opposite side, she's got that Gemini stellium that I talked about. So she's ping-ponging back and forth between something that is, you know, expansive. She's looking for that search for home. looking for home. And on the other hand, she is looking to, expand, improve her skills. She's looking to learn. She gets bored really quickly. So she's always fiddling about with something. So yeah, that experimentation and that need to learn could get in the way of her trying to find a settled home. But both of these energies are immutable signs, so they're both erratic. I think she was just always ping-ponging between, this is where I have home, this is where I have intimacy, but this is where I feel artistically fulfilled and motivated. These are two different energies that just don't get along. So not easy. And immutable signs, if they were in like fixed signs, maybe it would be easier. If they were in cardinal signs, it would have been easier. Mutable's hard. But it seems to me that there's a break. That opposition, you see this harsh moon Mars opposition. The release point is the Leo things. That harmonizes it. So art is a way for her to feel emotionally settled, make that Sagittarius moon happy with that trine, and also give her the stimuli she needs to expand her knowledge. So that's where she does really well, is through Leo things, performance. Allowed her to just be emotionally stable. Making art made her stable. Yeah. And then let's talk about this North Node. She had a nodal return. The North Node's currently in Aries. Her North Node is in Aries. So she died on her nodal return. She came here to do what she had to do, and then she left. South Node in Libra with Neptune. So the energy that she's familiar with in the early part of her life. And she got famous quite quickly. I think she was discovered at 20, and then she was put in all these movies. Was it Robert Altman? Is that the director? She did a lot of movies with him. So with her South Node in Libra with Neptune, she finds fame quite young, quite early. Her boundaries are crossed a lot of the time. And with her South Node in Libra, she knows how to cooperate and negotiate and be diplomatic. But because Neptune's here, it's at her own detriment. So in these cooperative partnerships, say with Kubrick, her boundaries will be crossed, she will be potentially abused or humiliated, like publicly sacrificed on the cross on the hill. Like that's that Neptune stuff. People with a South Node on Neptune, they can grow up with like crazy, like religious zealot things. They can grow up with maybe like with a lot of addiction or drugs around them, like substances. They can grow up with abuse. They can like they've exposed to these Neptunian Pisces things very early, and while it's very beautiful in a lot of ways and it can make them very intuitive and compassionate, they often in reaching that kind of enlightenment, they must suffer. On the way to enlightenment, true enlightenment and wisdom, you must suffer. And that's what she had very early on in life, like these very Libran, manipulative relationships where, yeah, she knew how to negotiate, but it wasn't in her favor. It was for the sake of the partner or the director or, you know, the lover, whatever, Libran things. But her North Node in Aries was about doing the selfish thing and walking away from all of that and being alone. Not lonely, but being alone and no longer compromising her safety, her values. You know, like she had to learn how to be an Aries, which is really difficult because she's Cancer. You know, like she's naturally like much more passive and wants to give her all. You know, Libra and Cancer energy wants the peace. They will choose the peace first, and in the end, she had to choose the war. You know, North Node in Aries is about learning to choose yourself, and that's what she did towards the end of her life, in the last 10 or 20 years of her life. Lilith is here. I know she wasn't married to her partner, which makes a lot of sense, but Lilith is like the abused feminine, and ultimately, if you got your North Node with Lilith, you need to be living a life where you are free, because if you are not free, you will be put into situations where you will be humiliated or abused. Think what happened to Lilith in the Garden of Eden, right? If she was to stay married, she would go insane. She would become crazy. She would become violent. She had to leave the Garden of Eden and be like, fuck the patriarchy. I'm going to go and I'm going to like make my own way. And that's what she did. And she didn't die alone. She had a partner. She wasn't married or anything. I think she might have been married. Was she married before? I feel like with a South Node in Libra with Neptune, she potentially was in like quite a couple, you know, a few long lasting relationships, maybe codependent relationships. But ultimately, she had to choose herself. I wish I knew what house this was in. It would tell me so much more. But yeah, she died on her nodal return. I'm going to look at Oh, she also died on her Saturn opposition. So Saturn's in Virgo. I'd love to know what else that's in, but I don't. But yeah, she died on her Saturn opposition, her nodal return. What else is here? Jupiter is going through the Gemini placements, and she just had her birthday, so she had her solar return and her Venus return actually as well. She went through quite a few returns. North Node, Sun, Venus. Interesting. Okay. That's all I have for you guys. I honestly, this video could have run longer if I had a time like I did with Richard Simmons, but yeah, basically we just wanted to wish Shelley Duvall the best. May she rest peacefully with the angels in heaven where she belongs. And yeah, I'm really happy for her that she in death is now getting the flowers that she deserves. Justice for Shelley Duvall, and yeah, fuck Kubrick. Screw that guy. Nasty piece of work. Anyway. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for me, charts you'd like to see, put it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. I'm trying to build this YouTube so I could like make a salary. That would be fantastic. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you later. Bye.